The conference chamber floated in the void between stars, a massive station that had witnessed 10,000 years of peace. Inside, representatives from 47 species sat in their designated sections, their forms ranging from the crystalline Zephyrini to the gas-dwelling Vortham. At the center podium stood Ambassador Sarah Chen of Earth, her small human frame dwarfed by the towering delegates around her. She had been speaking for 20 minutes. No one was listening anymore. "The Krell Dominion has taken 12 systems in 6 months, Chen said, her voice steady despite the dismissive chittering from the hive mind section. "Your projections show they will control a quarter of council space within 2 years. We are offering military assistance." High Counselor Vextar, a being that resembled a floating jellyfish made of pure light, pulsed with what the translator rendered as condescension. "Ambassador Chen, humanity has been part of this council for merely 200 years. The Krell are a known quantity. They have expanded before. They always stop. Not this time," Chen said. She pulled up holographic displays showing fleet movements, resource allocations, and strategic positions. "Look at the pattern. This is not opportunistic expansion. This is systematic conquest. They are building something. We appreciate Earth's enthusiasm," said Counselor Zephyros, one of the ancient Zephrani whose species had helped found the council. His tone was gentle but firm. "However, the Terran restriction protocols exist for good reason. Your species has been at peace for less than 3 centuries. Before that, you spent 10,000 years in nearly constant warfare with yourselves." Chen felt the familiar frustration rising in her chest. The same conversation, the same concerns, the same fear of what humans might do if given real military authority. She had been Earth's ambassador for 15 years. In that time, she had watched humanity treated like dangerous children, kept at arm's length, always under observation. Counselor Zephyros, with respect, "Our history makes us uniquely qualified to recognize what the Krell are doing," Chen said. "We know conquest when we see it. We have seen it from both sides. Which is precisely why we cannot allow human military forces to operate freely in council space," Vextar interrupted. "The protocols are clear. Human vessels may not travel in groups larger than 3 ships. Human weapons technology may not exceed Category 4 authorization. These rules protect everyone, including yourselves." Chen looked around the chamber. Some species looked uncomfortable. Others looked relieved that someone had said it. The Krell threat was real, but apparently letting humanity help was worse than losing systems to an aggressive empire. "Very well," Chen said quietly. She closed her data displays and straightened her uniform. "I have one final message from Earth High Command, to be delivered if this council rejected our offer." The chamber fell silent. Something in Chen's tone made even the most dismissive delegates pay attention. "When you change your mind," Chen said, meeting the eyes of each council member in turn, "it will already be too late." She walked out of the chamber without waiting to be dismissed. 3 days later, the Krell made their intentions perfectly clear. The attack came at dawn on New Beijing, a thriving human colony world with 4 billion inhabitants. The Krell fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel already firing. Orbital defense platforms designed to council safety specifications lasted 17 minutes. The planetary shield, also built to council standards, collapsed under sustained bombardment. What followed was not an invasion. It was a message, kinetic bombardment from orbit, precisely targeted strikes on population centers, industrial zones, and transportation hubs. No ground troops, no occupation. Just destruction from above, methodical and complete. When the Krell fleet left 8 hours later, New Beijing was a burning ruin. 3.7 billion dead. The same pattern repeated across 49 other human colony worlds over the next 72 hours. The Krell struck with overwhelming force, destroyed everything of value, and moved on. They were not trying to conquer human space. They were trying to erase it. In the Galactic Council chambers, emergency sessions ran around the clock. Species that had dismissed Chen's warnings now scrambled to understand what was happening. The Krell had declared war on Earth directly, bypassing all diplomatic protocols, ignoring all attempts at communication. "We must intervene," Counselor Zephyros argued, his crystalline form pulsing with agitation. "The Krell have violated every principle of civilized warfare. We cannot allow this genocide to continue. The Council fleet is already overextended." Vextar responded. "We lost 30% of our peacekeeping forces trying to stop their expansion into the Outer Rim. If we commit more ships, we leave the core worlds vulnerable. Then we authorize Earth to respond with full military force, suggested Ambassador Trill, a reptilian species known for their tactical brilliance. Lift the Terran restrictions. Let them defend themselves. The debate raged for 6 hours. Species argued about protocols, about precedent, about the danger of unleashing human military capabilities without proper oversight. While they debated, another 12 human worlds went dark. Finally, they voted. 38 species in favor of lifting restrictions, 9 against. The measure passed. They sent the authorization to Earth immediately. It included formal apologies, offers of military alliance, and requests for coordination with Council forces. Earth's response came 3 hours later. It was not from Ambassador Chen. It was not from Earth's diplomatic corps. It was from someone most Council members had never heard of. Admiral Victoria Zhao appeared on every major communication channel simultaneously. She wore a black uniform with minimal insignia. Behind her, the walls were unmarked metal. No flags, no symbols, nothing to indicate where she was broadcasting from. "Members of the Galactic Council," she said, her voice calm and cold. "Earth acknowledges your authorization for military response. We decline." Shocked silence followed. "You wanted us restrained," Zhao continued. "You wrote protocols limiting our ships, our weapons, our ability to defend ourselves and our allies. You got your wish. For 200 years, we have followed every rule, respected every limitation, accepted every restriction you placed upon us." She paused, and something dangerous flickered in her eyes. "The Krell have now murdered 18 billion human beings. They have destroyed 50 of our worlds. And you offer us permission to fight back. As long as we follow your guidelines, use your approved tactics, and accept your oversight." Zhao leaned forward slightly. "We are not interested in your permission anymore. Earth is withdrawing from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. All human ambassadors are returning home. All treaties are suspended. All diplomatic relations are severed. We are closing our borders." "Admiral Zhao," Counselor Vextar tried to interrupt, but she continued speaking. "You will not see our ships. You will not detect our movements. You will not know what we are doing or where we are doing it. And when this is over, we will discuss what kind of relationship, if any, humanity wants with a galaxy that watched 18 billion of us die while debating proper procedures." The transmission ended. For 3 weeks, human space went absolutely silent. No ships entered or left Sol system. No communications came from Earth or any surviving colony. It was as if humanity had simply vanished from the galaxy. The Council sent diplomatic missions. They were turned away at the border by automated messages. "Human space is closed. Departure recommended. Lethal force authorized for non-compliance." They sent sensor probes. The probes either disappeared or returned with impossible data. Readings that made no sense. Gravity fluctuations that should not exist. Distortions in space-time that defied known physics. Meanwhile, the Krell continued their campaign of extermination. They moved methodically through human territory, destroying every settlement, every station, every installation they could find. They broadcast their victories across all channels, boasting of human weakness, of Earth's cowardice. The galaxy watched and wondered what humanity was doing in their self-imposed isolation. Some species felt guilt. Others felt relief that the unpredictable humans had removed themselves from galactic affairs. Most felt confusion. Only the oldest species, the ones with the longest memories, felt fear. "I have seen this before," Counselor Zephyros told a private gathering of senior council members. 30,000 years ago, before your species reached the stars, before most of your civilizations existed, there was another race, powerful and aggressive. They went silent before a great conflict. When they emerged, they had become something different, something terrible." "What happened to them?" Vextar asked. "They won their war," Zephyros said softly. "And then they left our galaxy entirely, seeking something beyond our understanding. But I remember the silence before their emergence. I remember how space itself seemed to hold its breath." "You think the humans are becoming something similar?" "I think," Zephyros said, his ancient voice heavy with concern, "that we should have listened to Ambassador Chen." On the 21st day of silence, Krell sensors detected something impossible near the ruins of New Beijing. Their forward scout fleet, 800 warships strong, moved to investigate. The sensor readings showed empty space. Nothing unusual. No ships, no stations, no debris that should not be there. The Krell fleet advanced confidently. They had destroyed the system weeks ago. There was nothing here that could threaten them. They were wrong. Space itself seemed to tear open, not like a faster-than-light emergence. Something different. Reality bent, twisted, and through the distortion came shapes. Massive vessels, jet black, reflecting no light. They were there, but sensors could not properly detect them. Radar returned impossible readings. Thermal imaging showed nothing. Gravitational sensors went haywire. The Krell fleet commander had 5 seconds to register what he was seeing before his entire fleet vanished. No explosions, no debris, no distress signals. 800 warships and their 70,000 crew members simply ceased to exist. The only thing remaining was a brief gravitational anomaly, and then empty space once more. The black ships, whatever they were, disappeared as mysteriously as they had arrived. News of the fleet's disappearance reached Krell High Command 6 hours later. They sent investigation teams. They found nothing. No wreckage, no energy signatures, no evidence that a battle had occurred. Just empty space where 800 ships should have been. Across the galaxy, every species with deep space monitoring equipment had detected the gravitational anomaly. They had all registered the impossible readings. They had all witnessed something that should not exist. In the council chambers, Counselor Zephyros looked at the data displays and spoke words that would echo through galactic history. "The humans have not been silent," he said. "They have been preparing, and I fear we are about to discover that the monsters we imagined were children playing dress-up compared to what they have actually become." The silence from human space continued, but now, everyone understood it was not the silence of surrender or retreat. It was the silence of the predator, watching from the darkness, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The storm was gathering and humanity was at its center. The Krell Imperator stood before his war council, his massive form radiating fury. Around him, his generals and admirals maintained respectful silence. They had learned long ago that interrupting the Imperator during his rages led to immediate execution. 800 ships, the Imperator growled, his mandibles clicking in agitation. "Our finest forward fleet, vanished without a trace, and you tell me our sensors detected nothing? Nothing that makes sense, Imperator," Fleet Admiral Cross said carefully. "The readings we received before contact was lost showed spatial distortions, gravity fluctuations that are theoretically impossible, and energy signatures that do not match any known technology in our databases." "The humans did this," the Imperator stated. "It was not a question. We believe so, Imperator, but we have no evidence. No wreckage, no survivors, no data logs recovered. It is as if our ship simply stopped existing." The Imperator's eyes narrowed. "Send reconnaissance drones into every system we have attacked. I want to know what the humans are hiding." Over the next week, the Krell sent thousands of automated probes into human territory. Most returned standard readings of destroyed worlds and empty space. But 17 probes detected something strange before they went offline. Brief flashes of gravitational anomalies, impossible bending of light, sensors registering matter that should not exist in normal space-time. The data made no sense to Krell scientists. They consulted their databases, compared readings with every known technology in the galaxy. Nothing matched. It was as if the humans had developed something completely outside the normal rules of physics. "Perhaps," one brave scientist suggested, "we should consider a diplomatic solution. If the humans have weapons we do not understand, continuing this war may be unwise." The Imperator killed him on the spot. "We do not negotiate with prey species," he declared. "The humans are hiding using tricks and deception. When we find their hidden bases, we will crush them as we have crushed their colonies. Prepare the main fleet. We advance on Earth itself." But the Imperator's confidence was not shared by everyone in the Krell military. Whispers spread through the ranks. Stories of ships that disappeared in the night, patrols that never reported back, strange sensor readings that drove monitoring equipment insane with contradictory data. The humans were out there, watching, waiting, and nobody could see them coming. In the Galactic Council chambers, the confusion was just as intense. Every species with advanced sensor arrays had detected the same impossible readings near New Beijing and dozens of other locations throughout human space. Scientists from 17 different civilizations worked together, trying to understand what they were observing. "It is similar to dark matter interactions," explained Professor Venthic, a Zephrani physicist who had spent 3,000 years studying exotic physics. But dark matter does not behave this way. It does not create gravitational distortions of this magnitude. It does not bend light in these patterns. Could the humans have developed dark matter technology? Counselor Vextar asked. Theoretically possible, Venthic admitted. But our understanding suggests that manipulating dark matter requires energy outputs equivalent to a star's total output over a century. No species should be able to generate that kind of power. Unless, Counselor Zephyros said quietly, they have been working on this for longer than we realize. He pulled up Earth's diplomatic records, specifically the timeline of their space exploration and colonization. 200 years ago, Earth joined the Council. At that time, they had approximately 200 colony worlds and showed conventional fusion-based technology. Nothing unusual. He zoomed in on a specific period. But 180 years ago, human expansion into deep space became more selective. They claimed several regions of space that other species considered worthless, sectors with unusual gravitational properties, dead zones where conventional sensors do not work properly, areas we called the dark sectors because they were difficult to observe. The council members leaned forward, paying attention now. At the time, we assumed humans were simply taking what nobody else wanted. But what if they were not settling those regions? What if they were using them as testing grounds? Vextar's form pulsed with realization. The gravitational anomalies we are detecting now. How long have they been occurring? Venthic pulled up historical sensor data, going back through decades of records. His crystalline structure flickered with shock as he found the answer. 143 years, he whispered. There have been minor gravitational disturbances in and around human space for 143 years. We dismiss them as natural phenomena, background noise in our data. They have been testing these weapons for over a century, Zephyros said, right under our observation. We were watching them the entire time, convinced we knew what they were doing, and we saw nothing. The implications settled over the council like a heavy blanket. For nearly a century and a half, humanity had been developing technology that broke every known rule of physics, and they had done it in plain sight, hidden only by the galaxy's arrogant assumption that humans were too primitive to do anything truly revolutionary. What else have they been hiding? Vextar asked, and nobody had an answer. On Earth, in a command center buried 3 kilometers below the surface, Admiral Zhao watched displays showing real-time positions of every major Krell fleet. Around her, dozens of officers worked at their stations, coordinating operations across a front that spanned hundreds of light years. The Imperator is mobilizing his core fleet, reported Commander Marcus Webb, her second in command. 2,000 capital ships, 10,000 support vessels. They are heading for Sol System. Expected, Zhao said calmly. How long until they arrive? At their current speed, 6 days. And our assets in position? The Shadow Fleet reports ready status. All captains confirm green lights. We can engage at your command. Zhao studied the tactical display. The Krell were doing exactly what her strategists had predicted. Overwhelming force, direct assault, no subtlety. They believed they understood warfare. They believed strength was measured in numbers and firepower. They were about to learn different. Not yet, she said. Let them come closer. I want them deep in our territory before we show ourselves. Ma'am, the Council has been sending diplomatic requests every day, Webb said. They want to know what we are doing. They are offering military support again. Tell them nothing, Zhao replied. They made their choice when they watched 18 billion humans die while debating protocols. We make our own choices now. Webb nodded and returned to his station. Zhao continued watching the displays, her expression unreadable. She had been preparing for this moment for 23 years. From the day she had been selected to command the Dark Matter Initiative, through decades of testing, development, and training in the shadows, the galaxy thought humanity had been playing by their rules. They had been wrong. Admiral, called out Lieutenant Sarah Kim from the communication station, we are receiving a tight beam message from the Tough's inevitability. Captain Rodriguez reports the ship is ready for the demonstration. Good, Zhao said. Execute the plan. It is time to stop hiding. Across human space, the order went out simultaneously. Dozens of ships that had been lurking in the shadows, invisible to all sensors, suddenly decloaked. Not fully visible, but enough. They appeared on sensor readings as distortions, as impossible masses that should not exist, as ships that were there but also not there. The Krell detected them immediately. Their sensors went wild with contradictory data. ships that registered on gravitational sensors but not on thermal or electromagnetic, vessels that seemed to exist in multiple locations simultaneously, masses that defied physics. Panic spread through the Krell ranks. Reports flooded in from every occupied system. The humans were everywhere. They had been there all along, watching, invisible, waiting. The Galactic Council's monitoring stations detected the same thing. Suddenly, human ships were appearing across dozens of systems. Not actually appearing, Council scientists realized. Just allowing themselves to be detected. They had been there the entire time. How many? Councillor Vextar demanded. We count at least 300 capital-class vessels, reported the sensor technician. But the readings are unstable. There could be more. There could be thousands. We cannot get accurate counts. 300 ships? Vextar said. That is substantial but not overwhelming. The Krell have thousands. Professor Venthic was studying the energy readings with growing horror. These signatures. Counselor, I do not think you understand. These ships are not just invisible. They are partially existing outside normal spacetime. They are using dark matter manipulation not just for stealth but for everything. Their engines, their weapons, their defenses. This technology is centuries beyond anything we have. How is that possible? Vextar demanded. How did humans develop this without us knowing? Because we were not looking, Counselor Zephyros said quietly. We were so busy making sure they followed our rules that we never questioned what they were doing in the places we could not see. In Krell space, Fleet Admiral Cross stood on the bridge of his flagship, the destroyer of worlds, staring at sensor displays that made no sense. His fleet was in formation, ready to advance on Earth, and suddenly there were human ships appearing all around them. Not close enough to engage, but close enough to be detected. They were being watched. How many? He demanded. Unknown, Admiral, his sensor officer replied, his voice shaking. The readings are inconsistent. Somewhere between 50 and 500 vessels in this sector alone. Launch fighters, Cross ordered. Send out reconnaissance squadrons. I want visual confirmation of these targets. The Krell fighters launched, speeding toward the nearest sensor contact. They transmitted video feeds back to the flagship. The images showed nothing but empty space at first. Then slowly, as they approached the coordinates, something began to appear. Not a ship emerging from stealth, but reality itself bending, light distorting around a massive absence in space. The shape of a vessel could be seen only by the way it blocked the stars behind it. It was enormous, larger than any Krell capital ship, and it was just hanging there doing nothing, simply existing as a reminder that humans could be anywhere invisible. Watching, the fighter squadron turned back, their pilots rattled. They had seen ghosts in the void, and the ghosts had let them run. All across the Krell Dominion, the same scene repeated. Human ships appeared just long enough to be detected, then faded back into invisibility. They did not attack. They did not engage. They just watched. It was psychological warfare at its finest. The Krell, who had built their empire on fear and overwhelming force, now felt what it was like to be the prey. To know that predators surrounded them, invisible and unstoppable. The Imperator received reports from 17 different fleet commanders. All said the same thing. The humans were everywhere. They could not be tracked. They could not be targeted. They appeared and disappeared at will. For the first time in his life, the Imperator felt something he had never experienced before. Uncertainty. In the council chambers, Ambassador Trill spoke the thought that everyone was thinking. We have made a terrible mistake, he said. We have been treating humanity like a dangerous child that needed supervision. But we were not their parents. We were not their guardians. We were the children playing at civilization, while they were preparing for a war we could not imagine. Counselor Zephyros looked at the sensor display showing the ghostly human vessels appearing across dozens of systems. The question now, he said, is what will they do with this power? Will they stop at defeating the Krell? Or will they decide that a galaxy that let 18 billion humans die is not worth saving? Nobody had an answer. In the darkness between stars aboard the Tuft's Inevitability, Admiral Victoria Zhao prepared to address the galaxy one more time. She had let them see the ghosts. Now it was time to show them the monsters. The broadcast began without warning. Every communication channel in the galaxy, from military frequencies to civilian networks, suddenly carried the same signal. It overrode everything, impossible to block or ignore. The technology required to achieve such universal penetration should not have existed. But then again, many things about humanity should not have existed. Admiral Victoria Zhao appeared on trillions of screens across 47 civilizations. She stood on the bridge of a vessel unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Behind her, through massive viewports, hundreds of ships hung in space. They were visible now, fully material, but they still seemed wrong somehow. They bent light around their edges. Stars behind them appeared distorted. They looked like holes cut into reality itself. "People of the galaxy," Zhao began, her voice calm and measured. "For 150 years you have wondered what humanity was building in the dark sectors. You sent spies. You placed observers near our borders. You wrote reports speculating about our activities. You passed restrictions to limit what we could do." She paused, letting that sink in. "Now you know. This is what we built. This is what we hid from you. This is the dark matter fleet." The camera pulled back, showing the bridge in its entirety. Officers worked at stations displaying data that looked like pure mathematics given form. Holographic displays showed fleet positions across dozens of systems. Everything looked efficient, organized, and utterly alien to standard galactic military doctrine. "You are looking at the Tough's inevitability," Zhao continued. "She is the flagship of Earth's dark matter fleet. She is 4 kilometers long, carries a crew of 3,000, and can move between star systems in ways your physicists will claim are impossible. She is also not alone." The display changed, showing a tactical overview. Hundreds of ship signatures appeared, spread across human space and beyond. The numbers kept climbing as more vessels revealed themselves. 300, 500, 800. The dark matter fleet consists of 927 capital ships, 3,000 support vessels, and enough firepower to crack planets, Zhao said. "But numbers mean nothing without understanding what these ships can do." She gestured, and the display changed again. This time it showed technical schematics, though simplified enough for non-human physicists to understand. The implications were staggering. "Our ships use dark matter manipulation as their core technology," Zhao explained. "We can phase partially out of normal spacetime, making us undetectable to conventional sensors. We can travel through what we call dark space, moving between points faster than any known faster-than-light drive. Our weapons do not fire energy or projectiles. They manipulate gravitational fields to crush targets from within. Our shields do not block attacks. They redirect incoming fire into pocket dimensions where it simply ceases to exist." In the Galactic Council chambers, every species representative sat in stunned silence. The technical data streaming across their displays was being analyzed by thousands of scientists simultaneously. The conclusions were unanimous and terrifying. This technology was at least 500 years beyond anything the Council possessed. "Maybe more. How?" Counselor Vextar whispered.
"How did they achieve this?"
Professor Venthick was reviewing the data with the focus of someone watching their entire understanding of physics crumble. "The mathematics are sound. The engineering is brilliant. But the energy requirements should be impossible to meet. Unless—" He stopped, his crystalline form pulsing with sudden realization. "Unless they found a way to tap directly into dark matter as a power source. By the founders, they turned the most abundant substance in the universe into fuel. They have access to functionally unlimited energy." On the broadcast, Zhao continued speaking. "You are wondering how we did this without your knowledge. The answer is simple. We started 157 years ago, shortly after we joined the Galactic Council. We noticed something during our initial surveys of Council space. You had explored less than 30% of the galaxy. You had marked certain regions as uninteresting, as dead zones with unusual properties that made conventional sensors unreliable." She smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "We claimed those regions. You let us have them because you thought they were worthless, but to us they were perfect. Regions of space with high dark matter concentrations, where we could test our theories without being observed. You were watching our main colonies, making sure we followed your rules. You never thought to watch the places you considered useless." Counselor Zephyros closed his eyes. He had approved those territorial claims personally, glad that humanity was taking unwanted space and not competing for valuable systems. The irony was almost painful. "For 150 years, Zhao said, we have been testing, developing, and building this fleet. We did it in the shadows because we knew you would never approve. You had already decided humanity was too dangerous, too unpredictable, too warlike. If we had asked permission, you would have said no. So we did not ask. The display changed again, showing footage from the Krell attack on New Beijing, the orbital bombardment, the destruction, the death toll climbing into the billions. Zhao's voice became harder. 18 billion humans died while you debated whether to let us defend ourselves. 18 billion people who trusted that the Galactic Council would protect them, that the rules and treaties and protocols meant something. They were wrong. We were wrong to trust you. In the Krell Dominion's capital, the Imperator watched the broadcast with growing fury. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. Around him, his war council stood silent, waiting for orders. This is a bluff, the Imperator declared. Psychological warfare. They show us ships and make grand claims, but we have not seen these weapons in action. We have only seen one fleet disappear, which could have been accomplished through any number of means. Fleet Admiral Cross was less certain. Imperator, the technical data they are displaying matches the sensor readings we have been receiving. The energy signatures, the gravitational distortions, the impossible movements. This appears to be genuine. Then we test it, the Imperator snarled. Order the fortress at Krell Prime 4 to prepare for potential attack. If these humans want to demonstrate their weapons, let them try against our strongest defense. On the broadcast, Zhao seemed to hear him. Of course she could not have, the transmission was one way, but her next word suggested that humanity had predicted exactly how the Krell would respond. The Krell Imperator is wondering if we are bluffing, Zhao said. Wondering if these ships are real, if the weapons work, if we are truly as dangerous as we claim. I understand his doubt. We have, after all, hidden our capabilities for a century and a half. Why believe us now? She turned to face the camera directly. Krell Prime 4 hosts your most powerful fortress. It has planetary shields that have never been breached. It has defense platforms that can destroy a fleet. It has garrison forces numbering in the millions. Your engineers have proclaimed it unconquerable. The Imperator felt ice run through his veins. The TUFS inevitability will demonstrate our capabilities on Krell Prime 4 in exactly 1 hour, Zhao said. I recommend you evacuate military personnel. Civilian populations are in no danger. We will target only military installations, she paused, then added. This is a demonstration, not a massacre. But it will show you exactly what humanity is capable of when we stop following your rules. The transmission ended. For 15 seconds, the galaxy sat in absolute silence. Then chaos erupted. The Krell immediately began evacuating Krell Prime 4. The fortress world was home to 2.4 billion Krell, mostly military personnel and their families. The Imperator ordered a full evacuation, but there was not enough time. They could save maybe half the population. The Galactic Council tried desperately to contact Earth, to negotiate, to stop what was about to happen. Every message was returned with the same automated response. Earth is not accepting diplomatic communications at this time. Professor Venthick was running calculations frantically. If they use gravitational manipulation against a planetary target, the devastation could be complete. They could crack the planet's core. They could trigger mass extinction events. This is madness. This is war, Counselor Zephyros corrected quietly. This is what we pushed them to by refusing to help when they needed us. 59 minutes after the broadcast ended, the TUFS inevitability entered the Krell Prime 4 system. She came alone, one ship against an entire fortress world. The Krell had 600 defense platforms, 400 orbital weapon satellites, and 300 garrison ships. They opened fire the moment the human vessel appeared. The inevitability did not return fire. She simply continued her approach. Missiles by the thousands converged on her position. They disappeared as they entered the space around the ship, vanishing into the pocket dimensions that served as her shields. Energy beams that could cut through battle armor splashed against her hull and were redirected harmlessly into dark space. Kinetic projectiles moving at relativistic speeds bounced off gravitational fields and shot off into space. The fortress was hitting her with everything and nothing was working. The inevitability reached optimal firing position. Captain Maria Rodriguez stood on her bridge, reviewing final calculations. She had trained for this moment for 11 years. Her crew had practiced this maneuver thousands of times in simulation. All sections report ready, her tactical officer announced. Admiral Zhao sends her regards, Rodriguez said calmly. She wants this clean. Military targets only. Verify firing solutions one final time. Verified, Captain. Gravitational resonance generators locked on Fortress primary power core. Defense Grid Control Center, and Orbital Command Station. Civilian sectors marked as exclusion zones. Fire, Rodriguez ordered. The inevitability did not fire visible weapons. No beams of energy lanced out. No missiles launched. To observers watching from other ships, nothing seemed to happen at all. But deep in the fabric of space-time, something changed. On Krell Prime 4, the fortress's primary power core, buried 3 kilometers underground beneath multiple layers of shielding, suddenly experienced impossible gravitational stress. Space itself compressed around it, creating a localized singularity. The power core, the shielding, the entire underground complex, all of it crushed down to a point smaller than an atom in less than a second. The Defense Grid Control Center, located in orbit, experienced the same fate. The entire station crumpled like paper, its mass compressed into a gravitational impossibility, then released as the field collapsed, scattering atoms across the void. The Orbital Command Station tried to maneuver, but gravitational fields locked it in place. The station commander had 5 seconds to realize what was happening before his entire command structure folded in on itself and ceased to exist. Total elapsed time from firing command to target elimination was 17 seconds. The planetary shields without power collapsed. The defense platforms without control systems went offline. The garrison fleet without orbital command scattered in confusion. Krell Prime 4 was defenseless, and the inevitability just hung there, making no further attacks, simply waiting. On the planet's surface, 2.4 billion Krell waited for death. But it never came. The human ship had done exactly what Admiral Zhao promised. It had eliminated military capability and nothing more. Civilian sectors were untouched. Cities were intact. The only casualties were military personnel at the targeted installations, approximately 53,000 Krell. Compared to 18 billion humans, it was mercy. The inevitability turned and left the system without firing another shot. Across the galaxy, every species that had witnessed the demonstration sat in horrified silence. The technical achievement was stunning. The restraint was terrifying. The message was crystal clear. Humanity could have killed everyone on that planet. They could have cracked the world in half. They could have demonstrated their power through genocide. They chose not to. They chose to show precision, control, and mercy even against an enemy that had shown them none. In the council chambers, Counselor Vextar's form pulsed with something that might have been shame. "They are not monsters," he said quietly. "They are warriors who follow rules even when their enemies do not. They are better than us." Counselor Zephyros nodded slowly. "They have shown us what they can do. Now the question is what they will do. Will they stop at defeating the Krell? Or will they reshape the galaxy by force?" The answer came 6 hours later. Another broadcast, this time shorter. Admiral Zhao appeared on screens across the galaxy once more. "The demonstration is complete," she said. "The Krell now understand what they face. The galaxy now understands what humanity has become. What happens next depends entirely on how the Krell Imperator responds." She leaned forward. "Surrender unconditionally and begin immediate disarmament, or we will systematically eliminate every military asset in your empire. You have 48 hours to decide." The transmission ended. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see if the Krell would choose wisdom or pride. The Krell Imperator sat alone in his throne room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the state of his empire. Every screen told the same story. His military forces were in disarray, his commanders were panicking, and his people were terrified. The humans had demonstrated their power, and the demonstration had been more devastating than any battle could have been. He had built his empire on fear. For 300 years, the Krell Dominion had expanded through overwhelming military force. They had crushed 23 civilizations. They had conquered 400 star systems. They had never lost a war until now. His war council stood before him waiting for orders. Fleet Admiral Cross looked exhausted. The other commanders looked defeated. They had all watched the destruction of Krell Prime 4's defenses. They had all reviewed the technical data. They understood what they faced. "Options," the Imperator growled. Cross stepped forward. "Imperator, we have 3 choices. First, we surrender as the humans demand. Second, we fight and hope to find a weakness in their technology. Third, we seek alliance with other species to counter the human threat. Surrender is unacceptable," the Imperator said immediately. "Then we must be realistic about our other options." Cross continued carefully. "Our scientists estimate that defeating the dark matter fleet would require resources we do not possess. Their technology is simply too advanced. As for alliances, which species would join us? We have spent centuries making enemies. The Galactic Council would celebrate our destruction. So you counsel cowardice? The Imperator snarled. I counsel survival, Imperator. The humans demonstrated restraint at Krell Prime 4. They could have killed billions. They chose not to. If we surrender now, our people live. If we fight, the humans may decide that mercy was a mistake. For the first time in his life, the Imperator felt trapped. Every instinct screamed at him to fight, to never bow to an inferior species. But the display screen showed the truth. The humans were not inferior. They had become something the galaxy had never seen before. How long until their deadline expires? He asked. 37 hours, Imperator. The Imperator dismissed his council and sat alone, contemplating the unthinkable. While the Krell debated their fate, the Dark Matter Fleet was not idle. Admiral Zhao had made a promise. She intended to keep it whether the Krell surrendered or not. Across the Dominion, human ships appeared in system after system. They did not attack immediately. They simply arrived, became visible enough to be detected, and waited. Each appearance was a reminder, a promise, a threat. The psychological effect was devastating. Krell garrison commanders looked at their sensor readings and saw ghosts surrounding their bases. They knew the humans could strike at any moment. They knew their defenses were useless. Some commanders abandoned their posts. Others sent unauthorized messages to human vessels asking for terms, begging for mercy. The humans ignored them all. They had given the Imperator 48 hours to decide. Until that deadline passed, they would simply watch and wait. In the Galactic Council, the debate was fierce. Some species saw opportunity in humanity's display of power. Others saw danger. All saw a fundamental shift in galactic politics. We must establish formal relations with Earth. Immediately, argued Ambassador Trill. The humans have demonstrated that they are the most powerful military force in the galaxy. We need them as allies, not enemies. They violated every principle of council law, Councillor Vextar protested. They developed weapons in secret. They refused council oversight. They attacked a sovereign world without authorization. We cannot simply ignore these violations. They did those things because we failed them, Councillor Zephyros said quietly. 18 billion humans died while we debated protocol. They asked for help and we refused. Now they have made themselves strong enough that they will never need to ask again. That is precisely why we should be concerned, Vextar argued. They have shown they do not respect council authority. What is to stop them from becoming conquerors themselves? Professor Venthic had been silent during the debate, reviewing data from the Krell Prime 4 demonstration. Now he spoke up. I have been analyzing the human attack pattern, he said. The precision required to target only military installations while leaving civilian infrastructure intact is extraordinary. They could have simply crushed the entire planet. Instead, they carefully selected targets and used the minimum force necessary. To achieve their objective, he displayed calculations showing the energy differentials involved. The humans used approximately 0.03% of their ship's estimated total firepower. They were not trying to intimidate through maximum destruction. They were showing surgical precision. This suggests a military philosophy based on achieving objectives with minimum casualties. Or, Vextar countered, they are being careful now because they are still outnumbered by the combined forces of the Council. Once they achieve dominance, their restraint may disappear. I do not believe so, Zephyros said. I am ancient by your standards. I have seen many species rise to power. Those who seek conquest demonstrate different patterns. They glory in destruction. They make examples through excessive force. The humans have shown the opposite. They demonstrate capability, then offer terms. They are not behaving like conquerors. Then what are they behaving like? Vextar asked. Survivors, Zephyros replied. They built this fleet not for conquest but for deterrence. They hid it not because they planned to attack, but because they knew we would try to stop them from defending themselves. Everything they have done, from the initial secrecy to the restrained demonstration, suggests a species that wants to be left alone but refuses to be vulnerable. The debate continued, but it was becoming clear that the Council was divided. Some wanted to embrace humanity as a powerful new ally. Others wanted to treat them as a threat to be contained. None had any idea how to actually enforce their will on a species that could appear anywhere. strike without warning, and vanish before reinforcements arrived. The 48-hour deadline approached. Across the galaxy, trillions of beings watched and waited. News networks provided constant coverage. Some showed maps of human ship positions. Others interviewed military experts who tried to explain dark matter technology to confused audiences. Everyone had opinions about what the Krell would do and what the humans would do in response. With 3 hours remaining, the Krell made their choice. The Imperator appeared on galactic communication networks. He looked old, tired, diminished. The being who had built an empire through force and fear now looked like someone who had faced something beyond his understanding. "People of the Krell Dominion," he began, his voice lacking its usual commanding tone. "I have consulted with our military leadership, our scientists, and our civilian government. We have reviewed all possible options for responding to the human ultimatum." He paused, and everyone watching knew what was coming. "The Krell Dominion hereby offers unconditional surrender to Earth. We will begin immediate and complete disarmament of all military forces. We will withdraw from all occupied territories. We will pay reparations for damages caused during our campaign against human colonies. We will submit to any additional terms Earth chooses to impose." The Imperator's image flickered, as if he struggled to continue. "We attacked Earth believing humans were weak. We destroyed their worlds, killed their people, and showed no mercy. They have demonstrated that they could repay us in kind. They could erase our civilization from existence. That they have chosen not to do so, that they have shown restraint where we showed none, is a mercy we do not deserve but gratefully accept." The transmission ended. For 5 days there was no response from humanity. The Krell began dismantling their military as promised, but they did so without guidance, without terms, without knowing if their surrender had been accepted. The silence from human space was complete. The uncertainty was worse than any punishment. On the 6th day, a single message appeared simultaneously on every communication device in Krell space. It was not a broadcast. It was a direct transmission to every terminal, every screen, every datapad. The technology required to achieve such precise targeting was almost as impressive as the weapons humanity had already demonstrated. The message was brief. "Accepted. Disarm completely. You have 30 days. We will be watching. You will not see us," that was all. No terms, no conditions, no demands beyond the immediate disarmament. The Krell had offered surrender and humanity had simply accepted it. No occupation, no conquest, no revenge for the 18 billion dead. The simplicity was terrifying. In the council chambers, the members tried to process what had happened. The war was over. The Krell, who had been the most aggressive military power in the galaxy, had been defeated in less than a month. And the humans were not claiming territory, not demanding tribute, not installing puppet governments. They had simply accepted the surrender and vanished again. "What do they want?" Counselor Vexistar asked, genuinely confused. "They have the power to reshape the galaxy. They have proven they can defeat any military force. Why are they not making demands?" "Because," Counselor Zephyros said, "they want what they have always wanted. To be left alone. To live without being told they are too dangerous, too violent, too unpredictable. They built this fleet not to conquer but to ensure no one could ever harm them again." "But surely they realize their actions have consequences," Vextar pressed. "Every species in the galaxy now fears human military power. Some are already beginning secret research into dark matter technology. Others are forming defensive alliances. The humans have destabilized the entire galactic order." "The galactic order," Zephyros said sharply, "allowed 18 billion humans to die while we debated protocols. Perhaps it needed to be destabilized." While the council argued, humanity continued its mysterious silence. The dark matter fleet remained deployed across former Krell space, monitoring the disarmament process. Ships appeared occasionally on sensors, reminders that humanity was watching, but there was no communication, no negotiation, no interaction. The Krell dismantled their military with desperate efficiency. They were terrified that any delay, any violation would bring the human fleet down on them with full force. Warships were decommissioned. Weapons were destroyed. Military bases were converted to civilian use. The transformation was remarkable in its speed and totality. And through it all, the humans simply watched. 3 months after the Krell surrender, the mystery deepened. Several species had begun finding human observation posts near their borders. Not military bases, just small stations with advanced sensors monitoring everything. The humans were not hiding anymore. They were openly watching the entire galaxy. Some species protested. The humans ignored the protests. Some species tried to approach the observation posts with diplomatic missions. The humans turned them away with the same automated message. Earth is not accepting diplomatic communications at this time. It was Ambassador Trill who finally voiced what everyone was thinking. "They are not going to talk to us, are they?" he said during a closed council session. "They are done with us. We failed them when they needed us, so now they have decided to handle their own security without our input. They cannot simply ignore the council," Vextar protested. "We are the legitimate governing body of galactic civilization." "Are we?" Zephyros asked. "The humans have demonstrated that our authority exists only because no one has seriously challenged it. We make rules that we cannot enforce. We pass judgments that we cannot back up with action. The humans have shown us that our power is an illusion maintained by mutual agreement, and they have withdrawn their agreement. So what do? Vextar asked. Before anyone could answer, every screen in the council chamber activated simultaneously. It was another display of the impossible precision of human communications technology. A message appeared, simple text on a black background. The Galactic Council is invited to send diplomatic representatives to Earth orbit in 30 days. Come prepared to discuss a new framework for galactic security. Your previous restrictions and protocols will not be discussed. We are not asking for permission. We are informing you of reality. If you choose not to attend, we will proceed without you. The message ended. The council sat in stunned silence. They are dictating terms, Vextar said weakly. No, Zephyros corrected. They are offering us one last chance to be relevant. We can accept that the galaxy has changed, or we can be left behind by species that adapted faster than we did. What choice do we have? Ambassador Trill asked. Zephyros looked at the blank screens where the human message had appeared. None, he said simply. We have no choice at all. That is what happens when you underestimate someone for 200 years. They stop caring about your approval and start making their own rules. The council voted unanimously to send representatives to Earth, not because they wanted to, but because the alternative was admitting they no longer mattered. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had changed it, and everyone was about to discover what the new rules would be. 30 days passed in uneasy anticipation. Diplomatic vessels from 47 species made their way to Earth's solar system, each one uncertain what they would find. Some species sent their highest-ranking diplomats, hoping to establish favorable relations. Others sent military advisors disguised as cultural attachés. Everyone wanted to understand the new power that had emerged from humanity's shadow. The journey to Earth was unlike any diplomatic mission in galactic history. Human space, which had been closed for months, opened for the council ships but with strict conditions. Each vessel was assigned a specific route. Deviation from that route would result in immediate destruction. No threats were made, no warnings issued, just simple statements of fact transmitted by automated systems. Several species tried to send scout ships on alternate routes. Those ships vanished without trace. After the third disappearance, everyone followed their assigned paths exactly. When the diplomatic fleet arrived at Earth, they found something unexpected. The planet was surrounded by hundreds of stations, defense platforms, and ships, but these were not hidden. Everything was visible, broadcasting its position openly. It was a dramatic shift from the secrecy of the previous months. The human fleet was no longer hiding. They were displaying their power openly, confidently, permanently. The diplomatic vessels were directed to a massive station in high orbit. It had been constructed specifically for these meetings, built in less than 30 days using technology that would have taken most species years to deploy. The speed of construction was another demonstration. Humanity was not just militarily powerful. They had advanced in every field. As the delegates disembarked, they were met by human diplomatic staff who were professional, polite, and completely unapologetic. There were no attempts to make excuses for the past months. No explanations for the secrecy or the military demonstrations. The humans acted as if everything they had done was perfectly reasonable. Because, from their perspective, it was. The main conference hall was enormous, designed to accommodate the wildly different physiologies of galactic species. At the head of the room stood a raised platform where 3 humans waited. Admiral Victoria Zhao, now wearing a formal military uniform with more insignia than before. Ambassador Sarah Chen, who had not been seen since walking out of the council chambers months ago, and a third human, an older woman in civilian clothing whom none of the delegates recognized. Zhao spoke first. "Thank you for coming," she said, and her tone suggested she knew they had no real choice. "I am Admiral Victoria Zhao, Commander of Earth's Defense Forces. Many of you know Ambassador Chen. The third member of our delegation is Dr. Patricia Morrison, Director of the Terran Strategic Studies Institute. She has been the primary architect of Earth's defense policy for the past 40 years. Dr. Morrison nodded to the assembled delegates. She looked like someone's grandmother, small and unassuming. She was also, the delegates would learn, one of the most brilliant strategic minds humanity had produced in centuries. "Let me be direct," Zhao continued. "We are not here to apologize for our actions. We are not seeking approval or permission. We are here to establish a new framework for how Earth interacts with the galaxy, and to offer all of you the opportunity to be part of that framework." There was stirring among the delegates. This was not how diplomatic negotiations typically began. Councillor Zephyros raised his hand. Zhao nodded for him to speak. "Admiral, before we discuss frameworks, Earth owes the galaxy an explanation. You developed weapons in secret, violated observation protocols, and demonstrated military force against a sovereign world without council authorization. These are serious violations of rules that failed to protect 18 billion humans," Zhao interrupted. Her voice was sharp now. "Councillor Zephyros, with all respect due to your age and wisdom, Earth is done being lectured about rules. We followed your rules. We accepted your restrictions. We trusted your promises of collective security. And when we needed help, when our people were dying, you debated protocols." She let that hang in the air for a moment. "So yes, we violated your rules. We built weapons you did not approve. We developed technology you did not authorize. We did all of this because we learned that trusting the Council's protection was a fatal mistake." Councillor Vextar's form pulsed with indignation. "You cannot simply ignore centuries of diplomatic precedent because—" "We absolutely can," Dr. Morrison cut in, her grandmother voice somehow more intimidating than Zhao's military command. "Counselor, let me explain something about human history. For thousands of years, our species developed rules and systems of international law, and repeatedly, we learned that rules only matter if someone enforces them. The strong do what they will. The weak suffer what they must. We decided we would rather be strong. This is nothing but might makes right philosophy," Vextar protested. "No," Morrison replied calmly. "Might makes right is when you use power to take what you want. We used power to protect what is ours. There is a difference." Ambassador Trill spoke up. "Dr. Morrison, Admiral Zhao, we understand Earth's position, but surely you recognize that your actions have destabilized galactic politics. Species are forming defensive alliances. Some are beginning weapons development programs trying to match your technology. You have started an arms race." "We started nothing," Zhao said. "We discovered years ago that 17 species already had secret weapons development programs. The Vorthem have been working on dimensional weapons. The Crystalline Collective has been developing biological agents. The Talshir Commonwealth has built 3 hidden fleets using resources they claimed were for civilian purposes." She pulled up displays showing evidence of each program. The delegates shifted uncomfortably as their secrets were laid bare. "The arms race was already happening," Zhao continued. "You just did not notice because you were all hiding your programs from each other and from the Council. Earth simply did it better." "How did you know about these programs?" Councillor Vextar demanded. "Because we have been watching you as carefully as you have been watching us," Morrison said. "The Dark Matter Fleet was not our only secret project. We also developed intelligence capabilities far beyond what you suspected. We know more about galactic politics than the Council does. We know which species are planning alliances, which ones are preparing for conflicts, which ones are secretly violating trade agreements." She smiled pleasantly. "We have been very busy for the past century." Ambassador Chen finally spoke. "The purpose of this meeting is not to shame anyone or score points. It is to propose something better than what we have had. The old system failed. It failed Earth specifically, but it was failing everyone. The Council had no real authority, no real enforcement mechanism, and no real ability to prevent conflicts. You were playing at governance while species built secret weapons and planned wars. She activated a holographic display at the center of the room. We are proposing a new framework. We call it transparent deterrence. The core principle is simple: honesty backed by overwhelming force. The display showed a structured organization chart unlike anything in current galactic governance. First, Chen explained, all species declare their most advanced military capabilities openly. No more secret weapons programs. No more hidden fleets. Everything on the table. That is absurd, Vextar protested. No species would voluntarily reveal their defense secrets. They would if the alternative is worse, Zhao said. Any species that refuses to participate or is caught hiding capabilities will face economic sanctions backed by military enforcement. Earth will provide the enforcement. This is imperialism, Vextar accused. This is accountability, Morrison corrected. The Council has spent millennia trusting species to self-police. How has that worked? The Krell built an empire. Others are planning similar expansions. Your trust-based system only works if everyone actually follows the rules. And we have proven that no one does. Second, Chen continued, we establish a joint security council with real authority and real power. Not a debating society, an organization that can actually prevent conflicts and respond to threats. And let me guess, Vextar said bitterly, Earth would have veto power on this council? No, Chen said, surprising everyone. Earth would have one vote, same as every other member species. But the enforcement arm of the Security Council would include dark matter fleet vessels, working alongside ships from other species. We are not trying to rule the galaxy. We are trying to make sure the galaxy has actual security, not just the illusion of it. Counselor Zephyros studied the proposal carefully. You are suggesting shared military command? Human vessels taking orders from non-human commanders? In certain circumstances, yes, Zhao confirmed. We are also offering something else. Technology sharing. That got everyone's attention. We will share dark matter manipulation technology, Zhao continued. Not weapons, but the underlying principles. Species that join this framework will have access to improved energy generation, faster than light travel, and advanced sensor technology. We keep the weapons technology, but we share the foundation. Why? Zephyros asked. Why would you give away technology that makes you dominant? Because, Morrison said, dominance through technological monopoly is temporary. Eventually, others will develop similar capabilities. We would rather control how that happens than have dozens of species independently developing unstable dark matter weapons. Better to share the safe applications and maintain oversight over weapons development. Plus, Zhao added, advanced technology benefits everyone. Faster travel means better trade. Better energy generation means higher living standards. We are not interested in keeping the galaxy weak. We are interested in keeping it stable. The delegates debated among themselves for hours. Some were intrigued by the proposal. Others were suspicious. All recognized that Earth was not making a request. They were presenting options, and the options were either join this new framework or operate outside it with all the disadvantages that implied. Ambassador Trill finally spoke for many when he said, this proposal assumes a level of trust that does not currently exist. How can we trust that Earth will not abuse this power? You have already demonstrated that you are willing to act unilaterally. You cannot trust us, Morrison said bluntly. Not yet. Trust must be earned, and it goes both ways. We do not trust you either. That is why the framework includes verification mechanisms, oversight committees, and clear protocols for dispute resolution. We are not asking for blind faith. We are proposing a system where no one has to rely on trust alone, Chen added. The Krell attacked us because they believed we were weak. The Council failed to help us because they thought we were dangerous. Both were operating on assumptions rather than facts. Transparency fixes that. When everyone knows what everyone else has, when capabilities are clear and verified, decisions get made based on reality rather than fear or prejudice. The debates continued for 3 days. Species caucused in private. Alliances formed and reformed. Some delegates contacted their home governments seeking guidance. Others made decisions on the spot. In the end, the vote was taken. 39 species voted to join the Transparent Deterrence Framework. 8 species abstained, unwilling to commit but also unwilling to openly oppose Earth. 0 species voted no. The galaxy had spoken, however, reluctantly. The new era had begun. 5 years passed. The galaxy changed in ways both subtle and profound. The Joint Security Council became operational within 6 months. Its first major action was to intervene in a brewing conflict between two mid-level powers over resource rights in a disputed system. Human ships arrived alongside vessels from 6 other species. The conflict ended without shots fired. Both sides submitted to mediation because they knew resistance was futile. The technology sharing program transformed multiple species. Faster-than-light travel times decreased by 40%. Energy costs dropped by 60%. Quality of life improved across hundreds of worlds. Some species used the advancement to focus on science and culture. Others used it to improve their own defensive capabilities. 3 species were caught hiding weapons programs despite joining the framework. The sanctions were immediate and severe. Trade embargoes backed by military blockades. 2 of the species capitulated within weeks and allowed full inspections. The third tried to resist and found its military infrastructure systematically dismantled by combined forces. No lives were lost, but the message was clear. The rules applied to everyone. Surprisingly, the biggest success was with the Krell, the former empire, stripped of its military and forced to rebuild from scratch, became one of the most enthusiastic supporters of the new framework. Millions of Krell had been relocated to human worlds after their colonies were destroyed. They lived alongside humans, worked alongside humans, and learned that the species they had tried to exterminate was willing to help them rebuild. It did not erase the 18 billion dead. Nothing could, but it offered a path forward that was based on cooperation rather than revenge. On Earth, in a small garden in the suburbs of New Tokyo, Admiral Victoria Zhao tended her roses. She had retired 2 years earlier, having overseen the successful integration of the Dark Matter Fleet into the Joint Security Command. She had been given every medal, every honor Earth could bestow. She had declined most of them. Admiral Zhao, she turned to see a young Krell standing at her garden gate. He wore civilian clothing and carried a tablet. He looked nervous. "I am not an admiral anymore," Zhao said gently. "Just Victoria now. Can I help you?" "My name is Kresh," the Krell said. "I am a journalist with the Galactic News Network. I am writing an article about the 5-year anniversary of the war. I was hoping you would answer a few questions." Zhao considered refusing. She had given countless interviews over the years and was tired of reliving those events, but something about the young Krell's earnest expression made her agree. "Very well," she said. "Come in, would you like tea?" They sat in her garden, surrounded by flowers from both Earth and Krell homeworld. Zhao had learned that some Krell refugees brought seeds from their destroyed colonies. She had helped them cultivate a small section of her garden with Krell plants. It seemed appropriate. "My first question," Kresh began, "is whether you regret building the Dark Matter Fleet?" Zhao was quiet for a long moment, looking at the hybrid garden around her. "I regret that we had to build it," she finally said. "I regret living in a galaxy where such weapons were necessary. I regret every life lost in the war, human and Krell both. But do I regret that we built the fleet? No, because if we had not, humans might be extinct right now. Survival requires difficult choices. Some critics argue that Earth could have been more diplomatic, that the conflict could have been avoided. We tried diplomacy," Zhao said, her voice hardening slightly. "We asked the Council for help. We followed their rules. 18 billion people died while the galaxy debated proper procedures. Anyone who says we should have tried harder was not watching their world burn from orbit." She took a breath, calming herself. "But I understand the criticism. We were harsh. We displayed power in ways that frightened people. We made demands rather than requests. If we had been more gentle, perhaps the transition would have been easier for everyone. Do you think the new framework is working?" "Better than the old system," Zhao said. "It is not perfect. There are still tensions, still conflicts. But conflicts are being resolved through mediation rather than warfare. Species know that aggression will be met with overwhelming response, so they choose dialogue instead. Is it ideal? No. Is it better than what we had? Absolutely." Kresh hesitated, then asked his final question. "My family was on Krell Prime 4 during the demonstration. My father was an engineer at one of the facilities you destroyed. He died when the power core collapsed." Zhao met his eyes steadily. "I am sorry for your loss," she said quietly. "If there had been another way to end the war, I would have taken it. But your father was part of a military infrastructure that had killed billions of humans. I will not apologize for stopping that, but I am sorry that it cost you your father." Kresh nodded slowly. "He told me before he died in the evacuation that he finally understood." He had spent his whole life in the military, believing Krell's strength made right. Then he saw what real strength looked like, and he realized that humans could have killed everyone on our world but chose not to. He said it was the most important lesson he ever learned. What lesson was that? Zhao asked. That strength is not about how much you can destroy. It is about how much you can protect, and about knowing when to show mercy even to those who showed you none. Zhao felt her eyes sting with unexpected emotion. She had carried the weight of those decisions for 5 years. She had wondered if she had made the right choices. Hearing those words from the son of a man she had killed in a way brought an unexpected sense of closure. Your father was wiser than most, she said softly. They talked for another hour, about the war, about peace, about the future. When Kresh finally left, he paused at the garden gate. Thank you for your time, Victoria, he said, and thank you for the mercy you showed my people. We did not deserve it, but we are grateful. After he left, Zhao returned to her garden. She looked up at the sky where, far above, human ships patrolled alongside vessels from dozens of other species. The dark matter fleet remained operational, always ready, but now as part of something larger. The galaxy had learned an important lesson through pain and fear. That silence did not mean compliance, that the quiet ones might be the most dangerous, that underestimating someone because they seemed weak was a fatal mistake, and that sometimes the most terrifying thing in the universe was an enemy you could not see until they wanted you to. But the galaxy had also learned something else, that strength combined with restraint was more powerful than strength alone, that humans, for all their capacity for violence, preferred cooperation when given the choice, that the species everyone feared might actually be the ones who could build something better. The storm had passed. The silence that followed was not the silence of death, but of watchful peace. And in gardens on hundreds of worlds, humans and aliens tended flowers together, building a future that neither could have imagined 5 years before. The dark matter fleet remained on standby, watching, waiting, hoping never to be needed again, but ready, always ready.